Alright, in this video I want to show a simple example for using C++ to create an OpenGL program with some animation in it. And so this window right here is the C++ window with some of the code in it. I'm going to go ahead and run the program so you can see what it does. It starts up small and and it grows over time, and as it grows it rotates the triangle and the other shapes involved. And so it's pretty simple, but it's a good starting point. And basically I just started with the example that comes with a program called Dev C++, and it's created by Bloodshed. So you can go to their website and download it for Windows, and it's a real easy way to get going with C++. And anyway, so I'll let that run in the background as we look at some of the code. I'm not going to look at everything today, but basically you're going to need a couple includes in your code. One is GL header and the other is GLU header. I believe you need both of those. And the next piece of code that you may want to look at is the create window. That's just a standard Windows call to create a window, and you get to choose the size here. And then the enable OpenGL call just gets everything started, and you pass it the handle to your window. Let's go on down to some of the code that actually does all the rotating and creates the shapes and all that. This first bit of code right here creates the triangle, and as you'll see in each little bit that we look at, it starts with a push matrix, and when you're all done with that, then you pop the matrix. But and then you have a begin statement and an end statement after each shape. So and this one's creating a triangle, and then you just pass it in some floats. That's all the F means, is it's some float numbers. And so this is telling it what color to use. And if we look over here, this is actually the points in the vertex that are creating the triangle. And these lines up here, this one is actually doing the rotation, and we'll look more at that in a second. And also this line is actually increasing the size or decreasing the size based on the value in the scale variable. This next bit is creating the rectangle. As you can see, it looks a lot like the one that created the triangle, but we just tell it to use GL quads. And then this next bit actually draws the circle, or a sphere, and and then at the end of it we pop the matrix and we swap the buffer, because it creates a buffer first before it shows it, and then once we swap the buffer, that's when it actually displays it to the screen. Now we'll go up to the code that actually deals with some of the scaling and the rotation. Theta is the value that's rotating it, and it's rotating it by 0.05 every time it loops. And then we're also increasing the scale by a small value each time, and that just makes it bigger. And the if statements here are checking to see if we want it to get bigger or to get smaller, because what we do is we make it get bigger for a while, but then see, at this point it's gotten so big that you can't even see the shapes anymore. Now it's just the colors inside the shapes. In a little while it'll realize that it's gotten big enough, and then it'll start getting smaller again, and the shapes will come back into view, and they'll go back down to their original size. And once it gets down, see, you can see in the corners now it's starting to get smaller again. And then once it gets small enough, then it will reverse again, and it'll start getting bigger again, and it'll just continue that cycle back and forth. So I started with the example that came with the program, and I adapted a little bit to basically, if you download Bloodshed DevCC, you'll get the example with just the triangle in it, and you can expand it however you want to. Like I added the circle here that you see, and also the rectangle will come into view in a second. I added that as well, just playing around with the code, trying to learn it myself. And I also added the code that scales it to make it bigger and smaller. So I hope that gives you a good starting point. And so go ahead and download the program and just open up one of the examples and have fun with it. And OpenGL can do a lot of stuff. It can be really complex if you need it to be, but it's great for doing shapes, and as long as your video card supports it, and as long as you have the right drivers and everything, it does a great job of smooth display, and the colors look great. And there it goes again. It started the cycle all over again. So I think that's where we'll end the video for today.